The Minuet in G is one of the most popular classical compositions ever written. It was composed a long time ago in the 17th century, but the chord progression sounds so modern and beautiful. I mean, you can really write 1,000 songs with these chords. In this video, I'm going to show you how to play this pop version of this song with the capo on the fret number 3. We're going to be using the capo on fret 3 just because we want to change things around a little bit. Even if we are with the capo on 3, we are still playing the minuet in G major. In fact, I'm going to call this chord an E major chord because we are using the E major shape. But if you think about it, this is actually a G major chord. And then the A major shape, but this is a C major chord, and the B major shape, this is actually a D major chord. So all the chords are related to the capo. So we're really going to start with the E major chord. We're only going to pluck the bottom strings. And then this next chord, the beautiful E over G sharp. We changed the set of strings. We're only playing the fret number 4 here and the fret number 1 and the top 2 strings. Then one of my favorite chords, the A sus2. Just 2 fingers on the E and the A. Beautiful chord. And I kind of arpeggiate the 4 strings from the 5th to the 2nd string. Then the E string and the 2nd string, the B string. And back to the E major. Now with this E major, we're going to keep the voicing on the B string. So I'm only picking the low E string, the D, the G, and the B string. Back to the A. And back to the E. E string open. And we finish with this beautiful B sus form. I'm going to strum this chord lightly and rhythmically as well. You don't want it to be too quick. Just strum the strings slowly. And then the bass note. Now this is quite of a pop intro. It has nothing to do with the song itself, but we really want to, let the listener know that we are approaching the song in a much more pop and modern way. Now the very first section is super simple. So we have 2 chords, the E major, we pick 2 strings, and then the melody is literally the E major scale. So we're going to play the note E, the F sharp on fret 4, the G sharp on fret 1, and the A on the fret number 2. And then we move on to the next chord, the E over G sharp. So the bass note is the G sharp on the fret 4. We pluck simultaneously the B string open, and then the note E on the fret 2, twice. Then we move on to the next chord. So the A major, another simple chord, just the C sharp on the fret number 2 on the B string. And the bass note is the low E string, the bass note is the A string, the 5th string. Pluck the strings simultaneously, and then the G string, fret number 2, the B string open, the C sharp, and the D sharp. And we finish with the E, low E string and top E string. And this beautiful phrase played with the E major scale, descending from the note A to the G sharp, to the F sharp, to the E. Now the next section is also beautiful. We want to focus a lot on the over-ringing. It sounds like this. So we're going back to the A major. And we're playing the A string open and the A on the G string fret number 2. And then the B string, the G string, the fret number 1, and the D string fret number 4. Let it ring out beautifully. The next chord is the E major. So I'm playing the G sharp here on the fret number 1, and the bass note is the low E string. Then the A, the G sharp on the fret number 1, the F sharp on the fret number 4, and the fret number 2. And we finish with the B major chord. Now we have a few notes on this chord, just the bass note on the A string fret number 2 and the D string fret number 1. And then the melody goes on the D string fret number 2, 4, and the fret number 1 on the G string, and back to the fret number 2 on the D string. And we finish with the B major. We're playing a power chord here, just two notes, the B and the F sharp. Now the second time you repeat the first section, you can add a few more notes. You don't have to, but if you want to diversify the melody, you can definitely add a few more notes. I like to play like this. So I will play the same melody at the beginning. And then on the A, on the fret number 2, I'm gonna add a different bass note, which is the F sharp on the low E string fret number 2. And then the same chord we learned, the E over G sharp. And then I will slide this E to the D sharp on fret number 1. Then we're going to keep the same chords. And I'm going to add a few more notes here on the A major and the E major chord. So I like to add the hammer on the G sharps on the fret 1, hammer on 2, and pull off on 1. So on the A major and on the E major. And we finish with the B major, which is now really conclusive. And the E major. So you want to play the fret 2 and 4, the power chord, and then the melody on the G string fret number 1, D string fret number 4, 2, 1. And we finish with this beautiful E major. You can just lightly strum the strings. Now we're going to change the range, and the melody sounds like this. It's slightly higher in pitch. So we have the E major chord. We start with the top E string fret number 4 simultaneously with the bass, the B string, E string open, fret 2, 4, and open. The second chord is a beautiful chord. It's a B major over D sharp. And the melody is on the top E string fret number 2. So the bass is the D string fret 1, B string 2, 4, and B string open. The next chord is the C sharp minor. So we play the bass note on the fret 4 here on the A string, top E string open simultaneously, and then the B string fret number 2, 4, open, and the B string open. And we finish with this chord. It's an F major chord, F sharp major chord. And the bass note is on the low E string fret number 2 and the G string fret number 3. 1, 3, and the 4th fret on the D string. Now we're going to play the F sharp major scale. So we're going to start with the F sharp on the D string fret number 4, G string fret 1, 3, 4, and the B string fret number 2 and 4. And then we play this beautiful progression. So C sharp on fret 4 and 5 simultaneously, E string open, and then 2 and 4, and then 1 and 2. So C sharp minor, B major, and F sharp major over A sharp. You want to make sure that the top E string rings out while you're changing the chords. And we have the last few chords. So just the B major, 2 and 4, and then the fret number 2 on the top E string, the B string open, and the F sharp again on fret 2 and 3. And we'll finish with the B major, 2, 4, and 4. Now we still have one section to learn, just the last few bars. We have beautiful chord progression. So we start with the E major, just open, 2 and open. 3 strings, the low E string, the D string, and the B string. And then E, D sharp, and back to the E. We're gonna do the same thing on the A major. We just gotta play the A string open and then the fret 2 and the fret 2 on the B string. And the same melody. And then we have a beautiful chord progression. So we're playing the E over G sharp. So the low E string fret 4 and the B string open. The E string open as well. We slide back to this F sharp minor. And we play 2 and 2 and the E string open. And then low E string and the G string fret number 1. And the E string open. And the B major. Beautiful melody, 2 and 4. And then the fret number 2, 1, 2, and back to the same chord. Now we're moving towards the end of the minuet, so we're gonna play this scale. So B string, 2, 4, E string, 2, 4, and then the last few chords. So we have fret number 4 and 5, and then the B string open, 2 and 4, and then 1 and 2. The E major. On the E string, fret number 4, 7, open, B string open. The B major chord on 2 and 4. And we finish with the E major chord. It's a beautiful and a lovely composition to learn and play. Make sure that you take it step by step. Learn each single section one step at a time, guys. There's no reason to rush. Enjoy the learning process. Use the capo on the fret number 3, then you can get rid of the capo or move the capo in a different position if you want to change the key. I'm going to leave you to practice this, and I'll see you next time for another tutorial.